Welcome, everyone. Today we are standing at a crossroads that your grandchildren will likely read about in history books as the Great Pivot. Lean back, but don't get too comfortable, because today you are in the defendant's chair and we have two candidates for the judge's seat. On the left, the human judge, likely to have argued with their spouse over breakfast, prone to irritability when their blood sugar drops, but capable of seeing remorse when they look into your eyes. On the right, the algorithmic judge, capable of 100 trillion operations per second, never tires, takes no bribes, but recognizes the word mercy only as a data string of zeros and ones. The question is simple. Which gavel's sound terrifies you less? 1. The biological flaws of the human judge, hunger and justice. Let's be honest, our current legal system operates a bit, shall we say, gastronomically. Let's recall the famous study from Israel. Parole decisions by judges were favorable about 65% of the time right after lunch, but dropped to nearly 0% just before the break. In other words, the manifestation of justice might depend on what was on the judge's menu that day. Can a person's life be sacrificed for a side of fries? Human judges are affected by fatigue. They have ideological biases and act on subconscious prejudices. The question: can you simply shrug it off as a human error if you get an extra 2 years in prison just because the judge had a road rage incident that morning? 2. The cold and flawless logic of AI now. Let's look at the other side. Imagine an AI judge. Speed. It scans millions of pages of legal precedents in seconds. Consistency. It ensures standardization between a court in New York and one in a small village. Pure logic. It doesn't care about your looks, the brand of your suit, or the pitch of your crying. It doesn't do favors. Sounds great, right? But we have a problem: the black box paradox. When an AI reaches a decision, sometimes even its own developers can't explain how it got there. If an AI finds you guilty and its only explanation is, my algorithm calculated it and math doesn't lie, is that a good enough answer for you? Can mathematics replace the weight of justice? 3. Garbage in, garbage out. The biased machines. Let's pause here. AI doesn't descend from the heavens, we train it. If we feed AI with human-made biased decisions from the last 50 years, the machine will simply automate our racism, sexism, and classism. We saw this with the Compass system in the US. The algorithm calculated the risk of recidivism much higher for Black defendants than for white defendants. Why? Because the historical data said so. AI can turn the sins of the past into the laws of the future. Is this progress or just digital tyranny? 4. Can mercy be coded? Now we reach the heart of the matter, the spirit of the law. Law is not just a set of rules, it is the conscience of society. When a mother is caught stealing milk for her child, a machine says, theft equals 6 months in prison. But a human judge can see the desperation in her eyes and stretch the law. Justice is sometimes not about following the rules to the letter, but having the courage to step outside them. So, how do you code human dignity? If you find the result of this equation to be cruelty, then perhaps we don't actually want courts that decide that fast. 5. The future of law and human rights. 2026 and beyond. Let's look at the big picture. Human rights are no longer just protected against the state. They must now be protected against algorithms. Tomorrow, when you are faced with an AI that cannot explain why your loan was rejected, why you were fired, or why you were detained, which court will you appeal to? Another AI? Conclusion. What is your verdict? Friends, we aren't here today to be Luddites or hate on technology. We are questioning whether we are surrendering our souls to a server while chasing our oldest dream, perfect justice. Now I ask you, and I want you to share your verdict in the comments. Imagine you are wrongly accused. Would you rather have an AI that is 99% accurate but emotionless, or a human who is 80% accurate but understands your situation? Who should be responsible for a wrong decision made by an AI? The programmer? The state that provided the data? Or should we just call it statistical error? Is justice a result, or is it the process of being heard and understood itself? Remember, if we one day hand justice entirely over to machines, those machines might eventually see humanity itself as a security risk or a margin of error. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want a guide to help you navigate this digital dystopia, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. In the next episode, we'll discuss whether AI can ever code love. Until then, keep your conscience loud and your algorithms under control. Peace.